So, we're doing a tier list for the A Realm Reborn and Heavensward main characters. We're going to go through and see what we like. Raubon. Raubon. I love you a lot, but you also are a little bit of a bitch. Elberg cut your arm off, so you got your ass beat there. You fought me and I beat your ass, and I just had a nice little battle with you and you did nothing. So just for personality alone, you're definitely sitting at A tier. Um, I think that you gained the least amount of character development in Heavensward, though. Definitely still A tier, though. He's pretty great. Nanamo Ulnamo. So I have to resist putting all Lalafels at S tier because usually they're all pretty excellent. Not you, Papalimo. Nanamo, I think honestly is going to be B tier. Because I do like her character, but she doesn't ever actually do anything. Actually, no, even C tier. I think she's definitely a well-written character, but she doesn't do anything in the story. Raubon is the one who represents Ulda at all times, so she's never actually the meetings to discuss things. She never makes a decision. Raubon does. She's pretty much just there to be a figurehead. So personally, I think while I love her character, as a character, she's pretty much C tier. She doesn't affect the story, besides dying. Marrowweb, E, which I don't know why that's a tier. F tier. Why? Why they make such a cool character, the queen of the pirates, like this awesome, like, leader of this pirate community, and she is just nothing. Not a single thing. Like, she's pretty, she's got a cool accent, and that's about it. She gave us the opportunity to use a boat to fight Leviathan. That's all she's done for the story, pretty much. Probably be sad about one or two of these if you don't put them in S tier. We'll see what I do. Kane Senna, also F tier, does nothing. Actually, no, we can bump her up to D tier specifically because she does have some cool dialogue about the elementals, and we do use her base a bunch. So she does have some interesting parts about her. If we're speaking specifically on voice actors, though, she is the worst voice actress in A Realm Reborn. 100%. So if this was a voice actor tier list, she's going down in an earlier round. Sid. Just my boy Sid. S tier. What's more to say? Sid is beyond a doubt one of my favorite characters in the game so far. He has this beautiful, sassy nature to him, and how much he just enjoys the company of the Warrior of Light's great. Every time you see him, he's excited to see you. Like you're actually his friend, and not just like, Warrior of Light. So good to see you again. Now go and do a mission for me. Sid and I are buddies. We work together. I don't work for him. Sid is S tier. Biggs, can I link it to you? Sure. I'll send you a link after I'm done with this. We're going to see a lot of S tiers, aren't we? We're going to see a fair amount of S tiers, but maybe not all the ones that you assume. For Biggs here, I'm going to give him same tier as Nanamo, C tier. Between Biggs and Wedge, Biggs doesn't have much interesting dialogue. He's mostly the foil for Wedge. He's kind of the guy who's just going, oh, what do you mean things are happening? So I'm giving him C tier. I like him a little bit more than Nanamo, so I'll put him up front, because at least he has some effect on the story. But he's kind of not 100% what I want. They finally made Kane Senna interesting in a side quest recently. After like 10 years, good. She actually has something to her. Wedge, B tier, our first B tier. He is a good character. I like voicing him too, because I gave him kind of a nasally voice to kind of fit with his character a bit. I think he does have like a lot of interesting scenarios, and he's the one that's kind of the comedic foil to Biggs, kind of working together. So between the two of them, I enjoy him more, and he actually affects the story by creating things and building things. Usually they're done by him. Tutaru, S tier. Minfilia is gotta be F tier. I hate Minfilia. I don't know if this is a hot take or anything. I think she's honestly one of the worst characters. She doesn't have any personality. She doesn't do anything in the story. All she does is get kidnapped, almost die a bunch of times, and then get absorbed by Hydaelyn. She does nothing. Like, even like her as the voice is just Hydaelyn with a little bit of Minfilia sprinkled in there. I should do this tier list, but only for characters you'd know as they relate to Stormblood. Yeah, this one right here is just A Realm Reborn in Heavensward. Her personality as A Realm Reborn is MacGuffin. She's not even the MacGuffin. Like, she doesn't do anything. She's not important in any part of the story. Like, her echo is never used. Like, she has the echo. She has the ability to resist the primals, and all she does is work as the leader of the Scions. So, personally, F tier. I cannot stand Minfilia. Mr. Pippin Patalopsicopolis. He didn't get much screen time at all in either expansion, but from what little I saw, I did like him. For now, he's being put at a high B tier. Probably between Wedge and him, I'm equally liking both of them. Because Pippin came in and saved us at the end of A Realm Reborn. He has a nice personality, very much so a enthusiastic, maybe younger version of Raubon. So I like him quite a bit. He seems to be going in a further positive direction from what I've experienced in Shadowbringers. But for now, I definitely think he's up in B tier, maybe A tier if he keeps developing well. This is making Minfilia as a popular opinion? Okay. See an instant F tier for you? They're down there somewhere. Gaius von Belsar. Gaius is a great villain. I think he is definitely the showstopper for villainy in A Realm Reborn. Between him and La Habrea, which are the two like main antagonists, he's definitely a lot better. I'm gonna put him at A tier, definitely not S tier, because S tier is for godlike characters. But high A tier below Raubon is definitely where he belongs. His ideologies are really interesting, and it's not just, ooh, big evil guy wants to conquer. He wants to build a better world, but he's going about it in the wrong way, which makes him a very interesting and dynamic character. If we're talking about style, though, when he makes his armor glow gold, F tier. F tier style. He went from this badass judge style armor to like glowing gold. No. But personality, A tier. I think there should be a dead tier. I mean, I'm judging them by the characters because a lot of these people would be in the dead tier. I can't promise that, Iron. I'm making a lot of hot takes. La Habrea. La Habrea is D tier for me, above Kane Senna. La Habrea is not the most interesting villain. Mostly because the only thing he does on screen time is just go, "Oh, warrior of light, you're interesting. I need to summon my god." He is pretty much just the run-of-the-mill, clear-cut, evil antagonist. He doesn't have any real dynamicness to his personality. It's pretty much just, I need to summon my god, and I want to hurt people while doing it. So, I definitely D tier. He's not a very good villain. Some of them I might not know the names of, like this guy. I remember who he is. He's like the spy master in the Crystal Braves. I loved his character. I really enjoyed it. I think I would put him probably bottom of B tier for now. Real, thank you, Lugs. Welcome, Lugs. Real, he's really good. I liked the way that he was sprinkling hints throughout the story. Actually, no, I'll put him over Pippin at least, because I know that I like him quite a bit. He definitely was sprinkling hints about that the Crystal Braves were evil, and being able to actually flesh him out as a character and continue past the Crystal Braves to keep working with us is really great. So I like him quite a bit. Not enough for an A tier, though, because we haven't gotten enough of him, and I haven't seen more of his personality. It's more just the way he was involved in the story that I enjoyed. Y'shtola, top of A tier. Not S tier. See, this is the problem. I don't know if I should put an S tier or A tier. Y'shtola is one of my absolute favorite characters so far. But S tier is for the cream of the crop. You know? The ones that I would die for. Well, A tier is for the people that I'm fighting for. So I think Y'shtola is almost S tier, but not quite yet. Maybe if she keeps developing more, she might hit S tier for me. But definitely top of A. If there's an A plus tier, it would be her. Y'shtola is one of the best Scions. Her story so far has been amazing to go through. I love her new outfit and the fact that she's blind and sees with Aether after getting out of the live stream. Definitely, definitely, definitely high A tier for me. White armor bitch that killed my beautiful, beautiful, oh, I can't remember her name. The Sylph. If we're talking about villains, if we're talking about how much I like them, F tier. I hate her. She killed my Scions. She ruined my base. But it made me hate her, which is the point of it. She's a villain that I love to hate. So if it's just my personal, like, oh, F tier. But in terms of a villain, I would say she's C tier. She was a good impetus to get us angry against Garlemald, but she ended up not really doing much after that. It was pretty much just a one-off fight in the middle of a dungeon, and there wasn't much else beyond that. So, for now, definitely C tier, below Biggs, honestly. Ilberd, my man Ilberd. Not used well enough, in my opinion. I feel like they needed a good 4 or 5 more quests for the end of Heavensward. It felt a little bit rushed for me. However, great villain, great motivation. Love it. Doing anything to fight for resistance and free your homeland to the point where you're willing to sacrifice yourself and summon a primal. That scene where he jumps off the roof, committing suicide to create this primal, it completely blew my mind. I was not prepared for that to happen. So, A tier, not as good as Van Belsar. I think Van Belsar had a little bit stronger of a personality and motivation, and was used better throughout it. But Ilberd's definitely A tier, especially considering his part in A Realm Reborn. Ermic, S tier. No, nothing about it. Ermic is my favorite character in Ishgard, which might ruffle some feathers, considering Oshifont's next. But Ermic, I just love him. He's a beautiful character, extremely well written. He actually has ideals that he follows, and he basically treats me like a best friend. He's just such a beautiful character. I love him. And he got so intertwined with the story, it almost felt like you felt like we went from strangers to allies to friends to best friends. I mean, you walk into Ishgard to go talk to him, and he's like, oh, I heard you were coming. I had a drink prepared for you. Let's go hang out and talk. Like, he is the man. But Oshifont. What can we say about our boy? Oshifont. I think the list is going to look like this right now. I love Tataru, but this is what the list has to look like. Ermic is my favorite character so far. Oshifont, close second. Close second. I can't believe what they did to my man. They made my heart break on screen. I did not expect it to happen that way. When he jumped out and blocked that spear of light for me, I was convinced it was gonna be like, oh, sweet, my best friend jumping in to save me. He's gonna bounce it off. We're gonna go fight this crazy guy. And then he died. And everything after that was handled so beautifully. The somberness of the situation, the sorrow, going with his family, seeing how his father reacts to it, getting his shield given to us, and then the scene where he helps us take Nidhogg's eye. I was taken aback by it. Oshifont is beautiful. Amazing character. Ermic's sexuality in Warrior Light is sexual. I agree, Dolphin. I love that man. With Ysael, he didn't even have time to cry. Speaking on Ysael, A tier. Above Raubon for me so far. Raubon has more time to develop than Ysael does, because Ysael's gone. I really like Ysael's journey. I think that it was fantastic to have her start out as this antagonist that you were fighting against, because, oh god, she's alive with the dragon, she's killed people, she's bad. And then slowly realizing that her actions, while evil, were trying to do good, and then traveling with her through the lands and revealing that Shiva is just her own interpretation, and that she's been living this lie, and her final sacrifice to save you. Isael was an incredibly well done character. Her story and character development were all done alongside you, so you saw them. Isael had great character development. I agree. That's why Isael is top of A tier. Oshovan's death scene is where you realize the consequences of your actions on the people around you who might not be as strong. Definitely, Dolphin. Definitely. It was a sobering experience. Thancred. If we're talking A Realm Reborn, D tier. Absolutely useless character. He shows up, you talk to him a couple times, and then he ends up being possessed. Because we're reviewing this after Heavensward, A tier. Definitely right along Y'shtola. These two are like, they're equal. I could swap their places right now. It doesn't matter what. They're the same. I love his character development during Heavensward. Not to mention just how they changed up how his character acted. He wasn't just this playboy anymore. He saw the consequences of war, had Minfilia taken away from him, had to fight and fend for himself, especially now that his Aether is disrupted. He had great character in this. Additionally, he also punched one of my least favorite characters in the face, which was a great scene. So, top of A tier. 100%. Not to mention he comes back so hot, I'm saying... Going through A Realm Reborn is like being a kid in a Miyazaki movie, then going through Heavensward is like being a kid in the 80s noir. True. Yugiri. This one might be a controversial take. I might get some hate for this one. B tier. I like her. I think her character is great so far. I think it's going to develop into an even better character. But she was not used to her fullest capacity in A Realm Reborn or Heavensward. She kind of was just in the background, not doing much. And then when she was in the cutscenes, it was just I will help you. And then she helps you off screen. She was never really a main part of things until the pretty much last fight when her and Samurai Dude show up. Gosetsu show up. So that's probably one of my first hot takes, but Yugiri's sitting at B for me for now. Remember, I'm invincible. Heavensward, I'm endangered. True. Crying Yugiri is S tier. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Papalymo, F tier. Did not get any development at all. Nothing. We barely saw him at all in either expansion. I appreciate that his sacrifice had to happen to make Lys have better character development, but I never saw him. He's better than Minfilia, at least. So definitely F tier for me. He was annoying while he was there, constantly like being a holier than their attitude. And he had the one scene at the end of Heavensward where he sacrificed himself apropos of nothing. So that might be a hot take. I'm not a fan. You're right, and I should say it. Thank you, Lugs. I say Papalymo is at least C tier, but I respect the decision. I can see the argument. This is definitely a me thing. I don't like it when characters are brought back just to kill them. Because that's what he was. It's what he is. He's just there to be a vehicle for Lys to develop. We barely saw him at all in Realm Reborn. He came back at the very end of Heavensward. We had about 3 lines of dialogue with him, and then he killed himself. So, I'm not a fan of that trope. Speaking on that trope, Moenbria. Is it Moenbrida? I don't know how to pronounce her name specifically. However, we had a lot more of interesting character development with her than Papalymo. I'm giving her C tier, below Nanamo. I think she would be a much, much higher character on my list if we got to keep her around for more. But once again, they introduced her. We had 4 or 5 quests with her, and then she sacrificed herself to kill an Ascian. I was very upset about it because I was really enjoying how her and Urianger interacted off each other. I was really enjoying their camaraderie and companionship. I was enjoying having a new member of the Scions that was like a breath of fresh air. And then she was just used to kill herself off. So she's sitting at C tier for me now. Because, you know what? I think I need to rearrange this. I think I'm starting to consider more and more that this character is not as interesting to me. So I think it's gonna be like this because I like Moonbrea as a character, even with the flaws, more than whatever this name is. So this is more a I don't like how the character was handled than the character itself. Moonbreeder, that also works. You're back for A Realm Reborn and Heavensward, not a bad list so far. Though many of these will get way better while others stay the same. Exactly. So this is a tier list exactly where I'm at in the story. They knew that Benfili, Eden, and Papalima were the weaklings of A Realm Reborn, and then they got rid of them. Writer 2.4 was extremely upset that the writer of 2.5 killed her off. I'm extremely upset too. This could have been a great character, and then they just got rid of her. She was definitely geared up to be one of my more favorite Scions in A Realm Reborn. Alfino Leveille. Alfie is a B tier for me. He's above Wedge though. He's above Wedge though. Alfino. How to say it? For me, Alfino is a very interesting character. He's written very well. And he has had a great character development. If this were A Realm Reborn Alfino, he'd be F tier. I hated that little fucker. Heavensward has done a lot to redeem him in my eyes, but he's still kind of like a bossy guy who doesn't exactly understand his place. So for now, he's B tier. He'll probably improve throughout the game in my mind. But for now, I think B tier is where he belongs. Top of B tier, definitely. Like some characters are made retroactively better later on. Okay, I like that. Alfie has been A/S throughout for me. I can definitely see that side of it too. I think personally, just for myself, I'm not a fan of how his character acts on a personal level. It's not that it's bad. He's being characterized really well. It's just how I handle it personally. This goblin, I am assuming it's Roundrox from the Alexander raid. I can't exactly tell because all the goblins look exactly the same. So I'm going off this assuming it's Roundrox. And her, I'm going to give B tier. I thought her and... What's her name? Mia? The character in the raid, they had a really good bouncing off of each other. And she had a very childlike demeanor, which I appreciated. Mide! Thank you, Lugs. But Mide's not on the list, which is weird for me. But regardless, even though Mide's not here, I think Roundrox was really well handled. I think that it was nice that she had a good part to play in the raid story. It wasn't just, a one-off joke character. It's like, oh, the goblin's a joke. She actually controlled the time-traveling robot. She had actual emotional connection with Mide and had a growth over it from just a childlike wonder and innocence to someone who actually has to experience the world. So definitely I liked her a bunch. Nero is gonna be B tier for me as well. I think he is very high B tier. Better than Alfino. I'm gonna say it. Better than Alfino for me. I love the dynamic between Nero and Sid, and how Nero is a reoccurring character that's kind of just a sarcastic asshole out for himself, but still respects and likes Sid. And he's had a lot of dynamic parts to his character, especially in the raid, the Crystal Tower. I really liked how he got corrupted and still pushed forward and saved people, and they got rescued by Sid. I'm quite enjoying Nero's character so far. He's kind of like this lovable asshole, and I think he's going to develop even better. I think Nero came back in the best kind of way. Exactly. He was just kind of this like one-off like bad guy antagonist that you fought in a raid fight, and then he became his own character. Edelbus, D, above La Habrea, simply because I know nothing about him. All I know is that he is an orchestrator of events and he talks to people. I don't know his motivations besides summoning Zodiark. I don't know anything of his personality. I know nothing about him besides he's antagonist boy. So D tier for now. Hoping he gets better. I'm hoping all the Ascians get better. None of them have any personality besides La Habrea is just dick. So for now, the Ascians are pretty much all going to be D tier. Maybe F tier. Philomene, F tier. I hate this bitch. She spent years and years and years hiding the fact that she was alive from her daughter. Then we found her, and she's like, oh, I was hiding for her own good. Anyway, I guess I'll go see her. There was no explanation or reason or anything about it, just, oh, it was for her own good and safety. Well, I guess I'll go see her now. Hate it. I hated her. Hated her. He's just La Habrea 2.0. Exactly. A lot of this is just me going, he doesn't know yet. True. Realm Reborn and Heavensward Ascians were bad. Yeah, definitely their end game. So they need to be set up as this shadowy cabal that you reveal stuff over along the way, which I get. But that's all I have now. I just have the fact that they're floaty evil guys. They cut all that from 2.1. They cut it from me. It didn't happen. So I can't talk on the thing I didn't experience. So she's F tier. You are from the Crystal Tower. I cannot remember your name right now, but I quite enjoyed your character. You were kind of a MacGuffin, which I don't really like, is when just a character's whole thing is, oh, I must sacrifice myself now because my ancestry is the only way we can save ourselves. But aside from that, he was really neat, kind of trying to work out history, figure out what his connection to the Alligans was. So I'm going to put him at C tier, below Moonbrea. He was a good character, but he was just a one-off character. He didn't really have much to him, and then in the end, he just got sealed away with, maybe one day we'll meet again. Gratia. Thank you, Lugs. You are a dictionary for names, and I love it. Because this game loves making you wonder if they're really the good guys. I haven't yet. I haven't really been wondering it yet. They just seem to be like, oh, we're evil. So, he's C tier for me. Lord Dorito. I love to hate him. So, like, character writing-wise, I think he's great. And that's coloring my opinion of him because I think he's a fuckwad. All of the Lalafels in Ul'dah are shit-heels, aside from Nanamo. So I'm kind of I don't know where to put him on the list right now, because if it's like my personal how I as a human being would like to meet this person, F tier. I hate his ass, but I'm supposed to hate him. So I think because of that, Lord Dorito is gonna go C tier for me. C tier for me. Top of C tier. He's not as intensely hated for me as Taleji Adeleji. He did come back with the kind of like, oh, I saved Nanamo, so let's kind of wash our hands of the situation. So I hate him so much, he should be an F tier, but I appreciate how his character's written enough to put him in C tier. So we're kind of meeting in the middle there. Midgar Sormir. C for now. Above Dorito. I think he is an interesting character, but hasn't been given much screen time to develop as a character. He could have been used a lot more in Heavensward, considering we were dealing with his children and with the dragons. He could have been an actual integral part of the story, but he only came out a couple times to be like, hi guys, you should listen to this guy. And that was it. He didn't really have a part to play. So, while I enjoyed him as a character when he popped up, he didn't get much use. Dragon Dad A tier? When I'm comparing him to like Y'shtola and Gaius von Baelsar, as a character, I can't see A tier for me personally. I think he has the potential to be A tier, but he hasn't been used enough for me. So if he comes back and is used more in the future expansions and expounded upon, then definitely. But he pretty much popped in, took away my Echo, and was like, not my Echo, but my Blessing of Hydaelyn, and just kind of sat in my pocket to pop out and go, just tell his Pokemon noises. He didn't have any impact on the story after he took away my Blessing. Teleji Adeleji. He is gonna be right below Lolorito. Because Teleji was, one of the big villains, caused the whole bullshit to happen. If Nanamo had actually been poisoned and actually died, and Teleji had actually had an impact in Heavensward, he would have been high up on my list of villains. But Nanamo didn't die, and Teleji didn't stay around. Raubon killed him instantly. So while he was an enjoyable villain, he had a very anticlimactic ending. So C tier for me. Urianger. If you had asked me any time before the very, 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 very end of Heavensward what I thought of Urianger, probably D tier, because he didn't do anything, ever. He just kind of sat in the background and talked like a 16th century poet. But now that he's gotten some character development, I got to see him in action while he was working with the Warriors of Darkness and the Ascians, and doing his sweet, sweet JoJo poses. He's up in A tier for me. Not above Raubon yet, but Urianger got a lot of good characterization and a lot of development for his character at the end of Heavensward, after, doing kind of a double agent work with the Ascians and the Warriors of Darkness. Kind of working for the enemy for the greater good. One life for one world. So he's definitely A tier for me now. By the end of Shadowbring's every sign is going to be S tier? Probably. Probably. Ida / Lise. D tier. Ida does nothing through A Realm Reborn or Heavensward. She's going to be Lise. Let's call her Ida, because she wasn't Lise until the last 2 seconds. Ida, bad. Just bad character. She didn't do anything. She showed up and hit up things a couple of times, and then popped up at the end of the story. Going forward in Stormblood, I can already see I'm going to like her as a character, but we're not rating her based upon Stormblood. It's just what I've experienced in the Heavensward and A Realm Reborn. D tier, 100%. Okay, Stormblood has now sparked a great interest for me. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. This Legatius, I don't know his name. He showed up and didn't do anything. F tier, bottom of F tier, super, super F tier. Like, there were some interesting implications that he wasn't like a true Garlean citizen, and he was kind of worried about giving command to himself, command given to him. But he popped up as the first of the big trials, and then we killed him, and then he was gone. Ritalin. Yes, I called him Ritalin. Ritalin at bottom of F tier. He didn't do anything. I'm assuming that's Justinian. It's kind of hard to tell on this screen, but Justinian, right below Thancred and Y'shtola. I love Justinian. I hated him in the beginning because he was just like this asshole, this asshole dragoon who just walked around and had conflict with Ysayle. But same thing with Ysayle. We quested together, we grew and developed together. They had some great back and forth banter that turned into more of a camaraderie as it went along, as each of them started to see the other side of the war. And the whole quest line to redeem him and rescue him was fantastic. Actually, you know what? Above Thancred for me. I think they're all very similar, but if I'm ranking them by the smallest of fractions, I think Justinian gets higher. So Justinian, great character, and he was part of probably my favorite scenes so far, when we're pulling the eyes off of him, and Oshafont and Ysayle come over and help us pull the eyes off. Absolutely breathtaking scene. He is the GOAT of Heavensward. 100%. Literal trash tier list. Imagine putting Papalymo F tier unfollowed. Okay. I had someone in stream yesterday who didn't even remember who Papalymo was. That's how F tier he is. Kryl. Kryl has jumped to S tier for me. People are going to go, oh, it's just because she's a Lalafell and you like Lalafells. That's part of it. But also, I love how sassy she is. She comes in and immediately starts sassing Alfino down, and nothing makes me happier than someone sassing Alfino. So, specifically for me, because I love how sassy her personality is, it reminds me a little bit of my wife. She's definitely S tier for me. Not above everyone else in S tier, but has hit S tier. Most underrated Scion for sure, Papalymo? Which one are you referring to, Iron? Alfino is very sassable? Exactly! The first thing she comes in, she's talking about how Alfino used to practice, like, his eloquent speech so he could get with the girls. The first cutscene she's in, she dunks on him. It's great. Count Edmond de Forton. I really like him. Really, really like this character. I think I have to rate him above Raubon for me, which is surprising, actually. I started out, again, not being that big a fan of him. He was just a fancy elf boy. But, I mean, as we went through, seeing him lose his son, helping his other son redeem himself for causing, like, almost a huge resistance movement, him giving me Orchifon's shield, and just his willingness to step down and let his son take over, now that he recognizes the fact that he's not up for it anymore. I think I think this guy's great. I think he's great. His character, while not as flashy as the rest of some people, I think had some real heart, and I loved him. Dadmont de Dad Temps? Okay, yeah. Kryl's most underrated Scion? Definitely. I love Kryl. So that says a lot more about that person than it does about Papalymo. Fair. True. I mean, you came in after I talked about him. So I'll be posting this on YouTube if you want to hear my reasoning. Religion Dad, great villain. Top of B tier for me. I think not raid. It's not a raid tier. They're called Trial. His Trial was one of my favorite in the entire expansion. I loved his zealotry, his kind of completely single-minded pursuit of this perfect world is kind of the typical religious zealot villain, but it was done in a really, really excellent way, and I love the callback to the Knights of the Round summon for his dungeon. So definitely top of B tier for me, villains wise. Raubon Knight S tier, it's always something with you, isn't it? S tier is for characters that are, I couldn't have the game without them. Raubon is up there, but Raubon's A tier. A tier is for characters that are top tier characters. S tier is for characters that I personally love and believe that they deserve to have my love. So Raubon has some faults with him, has some things that, hang me up about his character, but I still love him, so he's an A tier. Like Y'shtola. Y'shtola's my favorite Scion aside from these two, and she's A tier. Reasoning will not be good enough for forgiveness? Oh, well, I'll have to just take that then, Fonzie. Somehow by far the worst main antagonist, though. Yeah, it's weird. Like, I think he's a great character, but main antagonist-wise, he falls short. That's why, like, Gaius von Belsar is up top. And why we got, I lost his name. Alice. I think she's S tier for me right now. Which is wild because her brother is B tier. I adore Alice. Mostly because of the Coils of Bahamut. I think the Coils of Bahamut was one of the best storylines I've experienced in A Realm Reborn. Thank you, Iron. And Alice is fantastic. And then her coming back in Heavensward and being a main character we get to experience just comes full circle. Especially because I'm a red mage and she learned from my same master, so I kind of had that kinship from her of the red mage school of fighting. So I think Alice is S tier for me. Perfect opinion, correct. I'm preaching to the choir, apparently. Alice is great. Sassy old lady, A tier. Definitely. A tier right here. She's not better than Oriange, but she has some strong Studio Ghibli vibes. She reminds me a lot of Yubaba in Spirited Away, and how she's like this all-knowing, magical old lady who has a bunch of artifacts around. She's definitely very much so a Studio Ghibli character that I like a lot. Welcome back, Nest. Getting to the end here. Hilda, D tier. And I hate that I have to put her there. Actually, no, not D tier. Let's put her here in C tier. Kind of in the same line as Moonbrea. She shows up, is a great character, has a great story. I love the fact that she's like the bastard child of a noble and a lowborn, and that she becomes like the head of this watch. And then they just don't ever use her again. They made this awesome character with a really great design, and I really want more of her, and then they just don't use her. So if she was used more and was actually an involved character, I would put her high up. But Hilda's not used. She's just not valued. And you know what? I'm moving down Biggs. Biggs can go down here. He's not as great. But Toya's originally from Final Fantasy 1. Ooh, I didn't know that. Also, Cryo's part of the main party in Final Fantasy 5. Interesting. I know they do a lot of call-outs to the series. I didn't know they actually have characters pulled from... I mean, Biggs and Wedge, but Biggs and Wedge are a meme at this point. They're in a lot of Final Fantasies. Crestfelger. I'm going to be... this might ruffle some feathers. Top of D tier. I'm not a fan of Crestfelger. I don't think he is very good character in the stories. He is there as kind of like a leader of the dragons. He's the leader of the dragons, and he kind of just sits around, mopes, and doesn't do anything. Talks about how much he wants to kill humans, but the girl he ate wouldn't want him to do that. He's a full-on SIMP, and only comes out to help because Isael reminds him of his frickin' waifu. Not a fan. I just think he's not that good of a character. You know, he had to have his dad come out and sass him and be like, hey man, stop being a dick and help kill your evil brother. He's like, okay, Dad, I guess I will. Not good. Not that good. Oh gosh, I can't remember her name. It's escaping me. She is going to be bottom of B tier for me. I do like how she is like a refugee from Garlemald. Not even a refugee, but she was sent to spy. Lucia! Thank you. Lucia. I think I really do like the idea of a spy turned ally. But we didn't get to see that. We just see her now that she is an ally. We're only told about it. So her being a Garlean is pretty much just like a reveal. It's not actually a story point. And plus, she's fighting for my affection of Ermic. She's the third wheel in this relationship. Me and Ermic, we in a relationship. She's there like, hey, I'm here. Please, Ermic, notice me. Let's see. Nidhogg. Nidhogg. S tier. He's the only villain I've placed S tier so far. I think he was the villain. His story, great. His backstory for his reason for fighting, great. The fact that he almost reminds me of Scar from The Lion King. Manipulative, working in the shadows, like holding this grudge for years and finally acting on it. He is fantastic. And getting to fight him twice and then him corrupting Justinian, so cool. The idea that we beat him, and I was like, okay, cool, he's gone. Villain's defeated, whatever. and then possessing Justinian, using Justinian, this character that I've developed, not only to push himself further as a character, but bring Justinian with him. And then having that huge fight with Crestfelger and getting to pull the eyes out of Justinian. Amazing. I think Nidhogg is definitely the best villain that I've had so far in the game. Nidhogg is fantastic. I'm putting Nidhogg... See, it's hard, because these are all people I love. And I don't want to put Nidhogg higher than them, because it's like, oh, but do I mean I like Nidhogg better? But in terms of how good the character is, I'm putting him up here with Sid. Nidhogg is fantastic. Nidhogg fight is still one of the hypest moments in the game. It is. Nidhogg was great. Gosetsu. D. I don't know what you want me to say about Gosetsu. He showed up in a really funny way, and then hit a couple people with a sword, and then that was it. I'll get more of him in Stormblood, I'm assuming, but it's the same kind of thing with Ida. I like Ida, and that's the end of the sentence. I like Gosetsu, and that's it. I don't have anything else besides that to work with. Vidofnir. Vidofnir, top B tier. I like Vidofnir quite a bit. The scene where, Nidhogg / Justinian drops down and stabs Vidofnir in the middle of the congregation, that blew my mind. I was convinced Vidofnir was going to die, and I was upset about it. And when the idea of a character dying upsets you, you know they're a good character. Pretty much working as the only real, emotional bridge we have between us and the dragons, they're the ones that are most human. The ones that I can actually understand and work with. While Crestfelger is just this loser who's missing his waifu, Vidofnir is pretty much there to be the bridge between humanity and dragons. So I like Vidofnir quite a bit. Good point, Lugs. Vidofnir makes a great supporting character. They're there, they have a great personality, they work with the story, and they serve their part. It's like the perfect B tier character. They aren't there to be bombastic and crazy and change, your perception of the game, but they're there to be this well-rounded, well-written character to lead the story on. And that's what B tier is. I have a friend who named Gosetsu his favorite character for what you've just seen. That's it? He was funny. He rode across the ocean, but that was it. What else did he do? And lastly, default character, Warrior of Darkness, Edgy Us. I honestly don't know where to put this guy. I enjoy the concept of the Warriors of Darkness, but out of the Warriors of Darkness, what does he do? He gets kind of sassy and sad and yells at us, and then swings an axe around. He doesn't do anything, and then he pretty much just, whines a bunch. So, if we're talking about the Warrior of Darkness in terms of the full story, including all the characters, I think it's a solid, high C, low B. Him as a character, top of F tier. Because he's just kind of a whiny little shit. The rest of his supporting cast are great. I think he bounces off of them well, but he doesn't have a personality. He's just evil us. No. He doesn't have a name, Iron. I'm sorry. He doesn't have a name. His name is Default Guy. He's your second favorite in the game? Really? Wow, I'm ruffling your feathers then, Iron, huh? But yeah, so I would say, personally, I'm a big fan of him. He didn't really have much of a part to play in the story of it either. He was manipulated by the Asians, manipulated by Urianger, and the rest of his party was like, hey man, maybe we should stop being shits and just accept the offer. And he was like, I guess. So, this is mine. This is what I have as my tier list. Let's just go through and make sure I have everything in the right place. I think I do. I've been thinking about it as I go along. But we'll go tier by tier. F tier. I think I'm pretty good with this. Minfilia is not as bad as her mom, because her mom's a little shit and just didn't ever see her daughter. This guy, Ritalin, didn't do anything. Papalimo, you've heard my reasoning on him. And then, yeah, I think this is pretty good. D tier, I'm also pretty solid on. You know what? I like Ida and Gotetsu better than the Asians, honestly. So let's move those up here. Crestfelger is still better than them in my mind because at least he has a story, even though he's waifu blind. In terms of this, I think I spent a lot of time on C tier working it out. I think this is pretty good. I wish these two had more development, but they didn't. B tier, I'm also pretty happy with. I'm gonna put Alfino over these two though. I'm changing my mind a little bit on Alfino comparatively. He's not bad. He's gaining speed, but I think this is how I want it to be. A tier, pretty solid list. It's hard for me to move anyone because these three are equal. If I could just condense them into one thing and stack them, that would be good. But I think this is a pretty good order here. Kryl is great. Definitely bottom, though, because she hasn't had as much time to develop. And Eric and Oshifon, top of S tier. Easy, easy, easy. And we don't need to talk about Totaro. Everyone knows I love Totaro. Totaro is the best scion, hands down. Cutest Lalafell, cutest character, cutest girl, best girl. Done. So, that is the definitive tier list. No one can argue with me. No one can change my mind. It is perfect. And if you think otherwise, then you are the one who's at fault. So, I hope you enjoy my tier list. And I will take no criticism.